Hello, everyone. I am Violet Lee, your Tai Chi examiner. And recently, I came across about a scientific study, and it was done, almost 30 years ago. And it was done by the Cleveland Clinic under Dr. Yue Guang. And this study is quite interesting. So they recruit a whole bunch of healthy people, and about 30 of them. And yes, it's not a very large study. So they divide these 30 people into 4 groups. And 3 groups of people, they have to do some training or exercise. And the other one, the last group, is so-called a control group. So they can compare the result. So what is the training, or what's the subject of the research? So the first group, they asked them to exercise their pinky. And the second group, exercise their elbow. And the third group, pinky. So why 2 groups of the pinkies? And because the first and the second group, they don't actually move their pinkies or their elbow. They use their brains. I'm lifting my pinky, I'm curling my pinky, I'm curling my pinky. That's what they did. And the second group of people, not moving the arm, no physical movement at all, and just say, I am curling up my elbow. I'm curling up my elbow. That's what I did. And the third group actually doing the physical movement. So they do this each time, 15 minutes, not too long, right? And 5 times a week. They did it for 12 weeks. And after 12 weeks, guess what? The last group, which did nothing. So nothing happened. They measured the strength of the pinkies and the strength of elbows. No improvement. And then they found out the first group, which did not even lifting a finger. That's what we will say, right? Not lifting a finger. Actually, the strength of the pinky increased by 35%. That's amazing. I would think so, don't you? And the second group did not do this either. Just say, oh, I'm curling my elbow, I'm curling my elbow. And the strength went up by 13.5%. That's also very incredible. Of course, the third group, which did this, the physical curling of the pinky, and the strength went up by 53%. So when you do the physical work, yes, you get more. But think about it. I can just lay in the couch and imagine, oh, I'm going to get bigger bicep and tricep, and I'm going to be like a superwoman. Isn't that cool? Okay, so this research, as I mentioned, was done many years ago. And so you may wonder, what is the actual usage of a research like that? Today, I'm going to share with you a very amazing story. And somebody actually used this conclusion to heal himself. And now let me bring my good friend, Dr. John Painter, to the studio. Okay. And hello, Dr. Painter, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good,
nice
good,
to see
very
you.
good. Yes, it's so nice to see you. Especially, I know what you're going to share with us, and then this is quite incredible. But many people who's watching this video all know Dr. Painter very well, because what he has accomplished in the world of martial art as well as the healing art. John, don't be modest, okay? And you're amazing. He is inducted or elected into the Hall of Fame many times by different organizations, and he was in movies and taught actors how to fight powerfully on the big screen. And he has written couple books at least, right? And hundreds of articles about the internal art. And he is very passionate about so-called internal art. And because his personal experience, he was very weak and as a child, but at age 12, he was fortunate. He wasn't fortunate because he was sick and a lot when he was a little one, but because that physical problem, he actually became very fortunate because he was able to study with Master Li and learn about not only so-called the Baguazhang, the 8 trigram and the martial art, along with others martial arts, as well as the internal art of Qigong. And I can just go on and on talk about Dr. Painter's his accomplishment, but today the most important thing is he's here to share with us a story how he used Dr. Guang Yue's research to heal himself. So Dr. Painter, and in his long career, he has done many different things. And one time I think it's in 2001, right? Right. And during a 摔跤 tournament, a play, and then you injure yourself. How about you take from there and and share the stories with us and what happened and with you or your body and during the 摔跤?
Well, actually, the report by Dr. Guang Yu really was something I discovered quite some time ago. But before that, when I first read his report, I thought, this is the essence of Qigong. Because as some people might or might not know, there are a lot of old concepts talking about Qigong, where they, especially Wei Bo Yang in the Canton Qi, talks about how the mind controls things, and that's what it is. In fact, he says somewhere in one of the various translations of his work that it doesn't matter how you jump around like a bear or move like a tiger, it matters what you do with your mind. And this was something that really interested me because in college, back when I was in college majoring in theater and psychology, I was working as a hypnotherapist that early with a Dr. Cray, and he and I had done a couple of experiments in which we took, like the pinky experiment Violet was talking about a minute ago, and we took a bunch of people and did a study where one would curl a weight to develop the biceps, another would watch TV while he was doing it, and the third one would do nothing but lay his arm at his side and imagine his muscles growing while he watched a picture on the television of professional bodybuilders. And what happened was the guy with his arm down at his side watching the picture of the professional bodybuilders actually increased his muscle size by about 15 to 20% without actually doing any curls. Whereas the guy that was doing the curls and concentrating on getting stronger, of course, his muscle got much larger. But the one in the middle who was doing the curls, but was watching a TV with, Sally Jesse Raphael or whatever was on, his mind was distracted. And so his growth wasn't nearly as much. So when I found this study with Dr. Guan Yi, I said, wow, we were onto something even back then. And my teacher was onto something too, because the way he described the idea of the concept of Qigong was, the way he said it was like this. I'm going to hold up this little chart here. It says, the mind commands, the body responds, and the effect manifests.
Excellent.
Now at the bottom,
excellent.
You can see this mind-body loop called the mind-body Mobius. In other words, the mind and the body are one loop. Whatever you think in your mind becomes your reality. So I had started doing a lot of working out, even though I was doing what's called internal arts. And some people would say, oh, you can't have muscles if you do internal arts because then they'll get in the way. You'll be muscle bound. And I said, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. So I was doing both standing meditation and all of that, which is what my teacher had given me way back when I was 12 and 13 and 14 years of age, standing looking at a tree. That's another long story.
So, Dr. Painter, do you
Yes.
agree? And when people go to the gym and watching TV, and at the same time, working on the treadmill or ski machine, it may not be as effective.
They're dividing their mind. If you focus your mind on what you want, you get what you want. If you listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, he talks about how when he was working out, he would imagine doing bench presses or curls, and he would imagine his arm being as big as a basketball, and he was imagining his chest being like salad bowls, and he would keep thinking about that, and he grew larger and stronger than anyone else in the gym, and this is why he became Mr. Olympia eventually. Oh wow. Yeah, okay, yeah, he did take steroids, but still. He became much larger and stronger because of the concentration that he did. So I proved them wrong by when I was in my 40s. That's what I looked like. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Very good. Very impressive. Very, very
That's
impressive.
a 19.5-inch arm at that point. And it's also, you see, I have Chi written here. So with my collection, with my shirt. But then one day we were in class and we were doing Shuaijiao, wrestling, Chinese wrestling exercises, and I told one of the students, I said, okay, I'm going to take my arm, you stand there, and I'm going to go down between your legs, and I'm going to put my palm behind your left leg, and my elbow is going to go on your right, and I'm going to lever it like this, and I did it, and he fell down, So I said, now here's what you don't do. If you're doing this to somebody and you're down, like say he's knocked you to the ground and you're on your knees, okay? So the guy's coming at you, you neutralize his other hand, you put this here, this is a bagua move on the ground, and you put your other hand here, do not straighten your arm out all the way. If you do that, I said, now don't, and when I said don't, he immediately scissored his legs, and there was a sound of paper ripping. Excuse me, and I looked down and my biceps muscle had ripped.
Oh my
at the
God.
Place they call the aponeurosis. So essentially, pardon me, there's a lot of pollen in the air today. That's what it looked like right
Whoa.
there. It tore away. You see how it looked in the earlier picture? It was full and complete, but here it had ripped away. So I had to stop class. My assistant took over. I ran in the house, got a cold can of whatever was in the icebox. I think it was tea or something, and put it on the muscle tear and said, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. This is not good. So what I did was I started studying about how these kind of things happen. And what I'm holding up now is a picture of the biceps itself. And you can see that there's a long head and there's a short head. The short head's on the inside. What I had torn loose on it was actually here. The fibers of the muscle had torn loose, but the tendon was still intact right there. So, of course, the first thing I did was go to a surgeon. And I said, okay, what are we going to do about this? He says, well, we're going to have to cut your arm open and we're going to have to take those fibers that have gone down on the bottom and the ones that are on the top, we're going to pull them up and put these up and sew them together. And that's going to be what we're going to do. I said, you're going to cut on me like that? He said, yeah. I said, well, will I be able to curl 50 pounds again? He said, you'll be lucky when we get this done if you can curl 25 pounds when it's healed. And I said, well, I teach martial arts and I can't have that. So sorry. And I left. He was a real smart aleck, this guy was. So I said, okay, we got to go apply Mr. Lee's concept. The mind commands, the body responds, and the effect manifests. That's what we've got to do. So at that time, I had been studying some things about subliminal methods of healing and with the mind, and it was kind of popular in those days. So I'll show you an antique. I went and got a VHS and made that's a VHS.
Our audience would not even know what that is.
Yeah, and made a video. I still have players for this, and made this video. And what happened? I had if you remember the old days when they had on your computer, you could have a screensaver that looked like the Star Trek thing where all the stars were coming at you over and over and over again like that. Well, I copied that and put it in my video editor, which was a standalone video editor that you didn't have all that stuff on your computer in those days. And then I took this. Now you're going to laugh, but this is what I did. I took this picture.
Okay.
That's Arnold. And you can see that the biceps there is all the way down into the groove where it's supposed to be. So I interspersed that with signs that said healing now, tendons growing back, muscle growing back, and they were little cards that went throughout this 45-minute video, and they would be like this. They would come on that fast, so you could barely even see what it was. But I had learned from my studies in psychology that the unconscious mind was actually seeing them, recording them. They call that subliminal. They do a lot of this with advertising, which is supposed to be illegal, but they still do it. And the first week, nothing happened. I would stand in front of the TV with my arms at my side in Wuji posture from Jamjong. I would stand there and visualize and watch the screen. Flash, 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 like that. Nothing happened. I was getting a little discouraged, but I just said, okay, I'm just going to be sung. Just going to be sung. I'm just going to stand here.
Can you, for some people,
release of all tension is not necessary.
Relaxing.
Yeah.
In Chinese.
Yeah, relaxing. Yeah. Letting go.
Relaxing. Yes.
And I wasn't even imagining curling my arm at that point. I wasn't doing that. I was just standing there. About the third week, I was determined. About the third week, I started noticing that this was on my right arm, that my right arm started getting very, very warm. And I was wearing a short sleeve shirt, so I kind of pulled it up and I looked, and the whole biceps from here to here was red, like it had a sunburn on it.
So
and what this was
only when you are doing that watching.
Yes, only when I was doing that.
So when you are now watching,
so it was blood flow. It was filling up with
okay.
serious blood flow. Now, a Chinese master would say, "Oh, the qi was going into your arm." I say, "Okay, that's fine. If that's what you want to call it." But it was blood flow because the lumen inside the blood vessels was dilating, and that was drawing blood into it with protein and nutrients and so on to help the muscle. Now, it's not really possible for human beings like a salamander to regrow a missing finger, but it is possible for us to destroy tumors in our body with the mind. Because when I was doing, and we'll talk about this in another video, I was doing the buried alive thing many years ago to show how you can control your body.
We save that for future, because
I'm only going to say that because
Dr. Painter has so many interesting life experiences, and actually right before we're doing this, and we talk about we want to make it into a series, and it's going to be fascinating.
Okay, when I did that, I had met Dr. Simonton, which we'll talk about in another video, and he confirmed the idea that the mind and the body could cause tumors to shrink with using this same principle. This here, which I call the Qigong principle: the mind commands, the body responds, and the effect manifests. So I said I'm on the right track, and then I started visualizing the muscle fibers that had torn upward in my arm to like they were reaching downward like tendrils, and I would visualize that as I watched this video. And in about 3 months, it took about 3 months, every day for 45 minutes, 7 days a week, there was a noticeable difference in the arm and in the strength. I had not gone into trying to curl any weights or anything like that because I was afraid that I would tear it even more. But this is what happened. You can see the comparison. Do I need to get a little closer? Is that okay? Yeah, that's about right there.
It looks good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, that's the comparison. That's what happened. So I felt pretty good about it. Now, I'll be absolutely 100% honest. It never completely grew all the way back into the area of the elbow, but from this far apart, it became that far apart. And when I was teaching a Tai Chi Chuan class at the Maverick Club and another one at the 24-Hour Fitness Club, and it just turns out that surgeon, who I said was a real smart aleck, was working out in that club one day, and he was over there and he saw me, and he came over and he said, "What are you doing in here? You're going to hurt, you didn't get your surgery and whatever." And I rolled up my sleeve and said, "Check this out." And he went, "Well, it was the other arm." I said, "No, no, this is the arm. This is the other arm. This is the arm you did, the right arm." And he just kind of looked at me with this funny look in his face. And he said, "You had surgery?" I said, "Do you see a scar?" He said, "No." So I said, "Watch this." And I leaned over and put my hand around a 45-pound dumbbell and just started curling it and staring at him. I said, "Guess what? The mind is a powerful thing." And he got really upset and left the gym. It was my vindication. So I mean, that's exactly
so how long
what we did.
It took. So John, how long it took for you to actually get to this 45 pounds?
About 3 months. I mean, well, I started back with about 20, and then went back up and so on and so on.
Just 3 months?
Yeah, well, 3 months with the meditation.
I thought it was the
but going back into the gym, it took a couple of months to get back to that. Yeah, because my goal was to get back to curling 50.
1 year.
Huh?
Okay, I thought that the entire healing process was a year, so I was wrong.
Yeah, yeah. The whole healing process took over a year. Yes, but just the standing and doing the standing meditation was there. Once I could visualize the video with the things coming at me and the Arnold arm popping up and down and everything like that, is going along the screen and all that business. Once I could actually visualize that, I didn't need to use the video anymore. I just go out and stand in the morning as the sun was coming up and, imagine it. And that's what happened. So since that time, I've done a lot of work with other things in that same way, and with students.
So can I stop you a second to help me to clarify certain things? So you say in 3 months you were able to do the 45 pounds, and then but it altogether took you 1 year to heal. So what's the difference between from the 45 pounds?
Well, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, 3 months was me standing in front of the video. And then after that 3 months, when it looked like it was almost all the way down to where it was and it was feeling much stronger, then I started curling with the 20-pound weight. And then I went up to 25 when it got easier. And then I went up a little bit more. If it hurt, I would stop and then I would go back. Of course, I was working out everything else at the same time and also doing it. So my routine was very long and complex, not just for my arm, but then I have a whole routine in the morning with Taiji Chuan, Baguazhang, Xingyi Chuan. I do Bagua one day, Taiji one day, Xingyi the next day. And then I do my workouts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the weights. And I'm still doing weight workouts. I'll be 80 next year. And so I think it keeps you young and keeps you healthy. All those things.
For the audience, in case you don't practice the martial arts, the so-called internal martial arts, Dr. Painter just mentioned a few forms of internal martial art, which are Bagua, Xingyi, and Tai Chi Chuan. And sometimes people don't know this well. They only thought that Tai Chi Chuan is internal martial art. And actually, Xingyi and Bagua also has a lot of internal work. And thank you. Yeah, so
they share a lot of they share a lot of similar principles, but they're expressed very differently. So yes, Baguazhang is the one that I guess you would say, out of 3 girlfriends, I married Baguazhang because don't let my wife hear that, because I found that it had more of a benefit for my health and well-being, especially since it helped me deal with my biochemical depression, which I was born with and which Master Lee helped me to overcome. And it was the standing and the Baguazhang that did it, and we can discuss that in another tape sometime about why, because it does change the way the brain functions. So those are the things that I do every day in the morning. And work out.
Yeah. I don't know if in your studio right now you have enough space, and then you can actually show people what do you mean by 站桩, and if they never try it, and they may have different ideas. Do you have enough space to do that? If not, I can stand up and then you can correct me if I'm doing it right.
No, I don't need to correct you.
So you can show people, right?
Well, Jamjong is what we would call standing like a post. And essentially, the first posture is called Wu Ji, or the void posture, or the neutral posture, where you place your feet just about 8 to 10 inches apart, depending on how well balanced you are, or maybe a little wider. You point them straight forward, and then you go through a process of relaxing. I teach this whole thing on my University of Internal Arts online, and we basically walk the student through it. The idea in the beginning is to create sung, or the release of tension. Now, I teach a little differently than a lot of people who teach Yichuan, or they call it Da Qing Chuan or Yichuan, and that's where Jamjong, or post standing, is very, very important. But I think the mind is important first. And when you're standing up in Jamdrong or in the post stance, you have an ability in your body called proprioception, which means you're trying to find, your body's always trying to find how to balance itself. And this takes a lot of electrical energy in the brain. So I start all of my students off with sitting. I have them sit. And then I teach them a method we call, now this is not the Taoist method, this is another method called quiet sitting, Qingzuo. And in quiet sitting, you learn first that you can use your mind to feel your body in every place you want. So you could put your mind in your finger. I show them how to do that. I show them how to put their mind. So you just stare at your finger, think about it, and imagine it swelling up and getting larger. Imagine it being pulsing. And if you keep doing that, in a minute or two, you'll notice that that right finger feels different than the left finger. And this is because you have basically put your mind in this finger. So that's the mind commands, the body responds, and the effect follows. This is the essence, in my view, of all Qigong. So once you've done that, now we go and do it again. We move it to your nose, move your mind into your chest, move your mind into your abdomen, move your mind into your foot. Now fill your body with your mind. Actually, before we even do that, we have them sit very, very still and notice their surroundings. So they listen, look, smell. So they're accustomed to what's around them. After they've done that, they're not distracted by things. Then they start going inside, like I was just talking about. After they can do that, then we have them start thinking about feeling their body, imagining it's a balloon, and maybe you're blowing it up. So you imagine your body getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you deflate your body, get it smaller and smaller and smaller. But you do this without moving. You do it, first you can move like you're doing it, but then after that, you just sit here. And you imagine yourself expanding. If you look closely, you can see I'm expanding. And then you see yourself contracting. So what I'm teaching them to do, Violet, in the beginning, is to take control of their body with their mind and realize they can do that. Let's look at this for a second. I'm going to take off my bracelet here. So, okay. This is my wrist on the arm that I messed up. Okay. But I'm going to hold it so you can see the crease here where the hand joins the arm. Okay. Now, I'm not going to push my arm. I'm not going to pull my arm. I'm going to only think about my hand expanding. And you can see what's happening.
Yes, I see it.
You see it? It's kind of subtle.
Yeah.
But you can see it. And I can teach somebody to do this very quickly. This is why I type all the time and don't have carpal tunnel, because I can expand these joints with the mind.
So can you help people with tennis elbow?
Yes. Elbow, shoulder, then you do the whole spine. I can kneel down on the floor. You stand behind me, push down on my shoulders, and I will extend each of the vertebrae in my spine so you can actually be pushed upward slightly, about 1.5 inches. But this takes time and understanding that you are in control with your mind of your body. Now, once you're convinced of that, then I let you stand up. And then we go do that post standing, because when you stand up, the first thing that happens, if you've never done what I just described, is your brain goes, what are you doing? You know, you're wanting to relax, but you don't know how to relax. Well, hey, remember what you did when you were sitting? No different when you're standing. Just stand up and stretch
So
your neck.
when you're standing, and do you squat? And if you squat, how low do you squat? And I get this kind of questions all the time, and sometimes people confuse 站桩 with another Chinese martial art technique called 马步, 蹲马步. And
yeah.
it seems in 蹲马步, we have to squat lower, and lower.
Sure.
And then,
sure.
so
That's a muscle building exercise.
Yes. So when we do standing posture or 站桩, we don't go low, correct?
No, that's another exercise. I mean, back when we were kids, and we had to do those kind of exercises you're talking about, we would have to take a mabo in which our thighs were parallel with the ground. Mm-hmm. And then Master Lee would come and stand on our thighs. He would say, okay. And if you fell down, you had to go home that day. And then you came back and you did it again. Till your thighs were, thunder thighs, really strong. I remember my great friend, Master Henry Look, he used to do demonstrations all the time. We'd go together to tournaments all the time. Yes. And we'd room together a lot. And
yeah, he's a very,
would go do a demonstration.
Huh? I say Henry Locke is very famous.
Yes. Yeah. And so he would stand out in that posture and hold two people, one on one leg, one on the other, and a guy on his back. And he was 75 years old when he was doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we had to do that too. But the Jamjong we're talking about is getting the person to the point like Wang Xingjai did, where they understand that they can control the way their body works. They can create Fa Jing. They can create all sorts of different effects with their body if they understand the mind controls the body. That's what it's about. So I take them through a very long and detailed process to get there. And if you follow the process that I've developed over the years, it's almost impossible to fail. I mean, a lot of people just give it up because I'm just standing here and nothing's happening, or I'm standing around holding this posture and whatever, You have to learn what the steps are to get there. And then if you're going to create sung, the release of unnecessary tension, so that your hand can, instead of being stiff like that, it's relaxed and you can move that quickly. That's what this is all about if you're doing it for a martial art. If you're doing it for a health exercise, then you have much bigger and more broad postures, and you use that principle of opening up the blood vessels inside so they can flow to every part of your body. If you have an injury, let's say you've hurt your left shoulder or your tennis elbow, you've learned now that you can put your mind in that area and you can imagine blood flow coming in and opening up that damaged tissue and bathing it in nutrients. Now you have control over your body, and now you can heal your body in many, many ways. It's not magic.
So you actually, while you were doing that, besides watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's body, you also imagine the blood coming to your arm, right? And then
yes, once you get to the point where you want to heal something, yes. But as I'm saying in these steps, you have to go through these steps first in order for you to convince yourself that you can do this. See, one of the things that Dr. Simonton discovered about people healing themselves with their mind was that there are people who can do this really well fairly quickly, but they believe fully that they can do it both consciously and unconsciously. And there's the rub. You can say, I want to do something all day long, but if unconsciously your unconscious, which is 90% of your mind, is saying, nah, you can't do that, you're no good at that, then you're not going to be able to do it until you change that unconscious programming. So what I've developed in the way I teach is to help a person who even has that unconscious programming to slowly de-escalate their negative programming and develop positive programming. And as they do that in their unconscious, then dealing with cancer, dealing with illnesses, dealing with many, many things can be a really great experience that can be quite beneficial.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your amazing experience. Actually, I myself, I also had a little something happened to me. I was injured, and but I was very busy with my work that time. I did not go to see a doctor, and I thought, and I did not rest also, and so it became very bad. And finally, it's like I got a frozen shoulder, and this is all I could lift. The range of motion is this much, and I could not move my arm up, and it was also very, very painful. And but I did not want to have any surgery or cortisone shots or
right, yeah,
like that. So, but after I got an X-ray, and he did both X-ray and MRI, and they told me the bone wasn't broken. It was just the ligament and tendons and so
that's
forth.
good.
Yes. So, and then the stickiness was very bad. So then I used the mind and the power, and I was doing this lifting gradually while I'm doing inhale. I imagine the qi, sending the qi there, and exhale.
Good.
And I imagine, it takes all the goose, all those bad things away from my body. And in a month, I was about 95%.
Great, fantastic, yes.
Here. And then in 2 months, I'm like this. I can lock my arms. So
Hun Hao.
Yeah, so when I was sharing this story with people, sometimes people say, it's you can do it. But I think, everybody can do it. And I'm so glad today Dr. Painter shared his story, because his was amazing. You saw it, you saw the picture, and it was a big, tear, and a lot more severe than mine. And then, but he used his method. And I'm so glad to see you use both the hypnosis technique along with the qi, and you move your qi. And that's another thing about people when they say, "Oh, moving the qi. How do you move the qi?" So maybe you can explain better how we actually move the qi.
To me, the idea, first of all, that's amazing what you did. I think that's fantastic. We use a lot of different words and terminologies. Nobody has defined what they mean by qi necessarily, because as you well know, because you read Chinese, that when you use a Chinese character, it is dependent on what the other characters are saying about it as to what it actually means. So when you're talking about move the qi, okay, for me, I use the term move the mind, because the mind is the qi, and the mind creates the effect. The effect that's taking place is the qi. If I stand very, very still in a Jamjong, sometimes my teacher would say, "Oh, you see, now your foot look big." I'd say, "Is the qi in your foot?" I'd say, "No, Master Lee, the blood just went to my foot because I wasn't moving." Well, he said the same thing. Okay, all right. And Henry would say, "Okay, the qi will not flow into your fingers because your fingers are like this." And I go like, "But this finger's been broken 12 times. So like this is tension, no sung, bu sung. So this is how sung. This is okay." And he said, "Okay, well, do it that way anyway." So I would say, fine, it works for both of us, doesn't it? Because the mind commands, the body responds. And the old saying was the chi goes along or the chi follows. So what you do with your mind causes the chi, if you want to call it that, to move. And this is putting your mind in various places in your body. I can get a lot of people who think that what we're talking about is mysticism. But if I have somebody who doesn't know anything about the Chinese internal arts or any of that, and I'm dealing with a client or a patient, I may want to use just Western terminology, which is what I'm doing here, in order to get them to buy into the process. And if they buy into the process, then they can use it. If they think it's something anti-religious, something mystical, then they may think, nah. Now, if they're already into the mystical, whatever, then fine. But otherwise, no. So
No,
I'm trying to reach.
Actually,
see what I'm getting at?
Yes. Well, I don't see, as far as the mind goes, and yes, some people may think it's mysterious and it's whatever. And but actually, as you laid out very well, and we all have a mind, right? We all can use our thoughts to move the energy, move the chi, and and I'm so glad and you use your knowledge and based on your previous study and also the Dr. Guang Yue's his result and to got a great results for yourself, and I'm pretty sure a lot of your students and they also have gained a lot of health benefit from it. And I would like to share with you, and you probably know that, and also the audience. As a matter of fact, now Dr. Guang Yue, and he is a director at the Kessler, Kessler, Kessler Foundation. It's in New Jersey, and they're doing cutting edge research. And one of the focus they have is about rehabilitation. And there is an audio and a podcast on the website, which Dr. Yue was interviewed and talk about how to use the mind in the rehab. Of course, they are doing an integrated approach. It's not just using the mind. They also, as I mentioned, use very, very advanced technology and to heal people. So, of course, using the mind can help to accelerate the process. And so this is
a couple
great.
Of things.
And, yes.
A couple of things. One, Dr. Guan Yu's research really made me realize to making connections between what my teacher had shown me and what I had learned as a psychologist doing in psychology. I wasn't a psychologist, but in psychology and in the hypnotherapy. So those two things melded together well. But I want to make sure that your audience did not think they heard me saying, do not see a Western doctor. What I do and what I recommend is if you have a problem like you had with your shoulder, okay, go get a diagnosis. Listen to what they're asking you to do. And if that sounds reasonable, then let them do it. Now, if it's not reasonable and you don't want to get cut on, then find some alternative way to handle it, possibly. But at first, if you're not an anatomist, learn what's wrong, and then you know where to focus your mind, where to focus your chi, and you know how to make it work. So that's very, very important in my view.
I love how you put it, and yes, it's very, very important. We cannot be a doctor ourselves and then to diagnose our issue, and we will have to rely on the professionals. And of course, afterwards, as you said, and we will know where to focus, right? Otherwise, we don't know where to lead the chi to. This is so interesting.
6 years ago, I had a tremendous heart attack. and had heart surgery. If I had tried to heal what was going on with the heart attack myself, I would not be here talking to you right now because the surgeons saved my life. I hereditarily create too much plaque in my blood vessels. And now that I know that, I'm clearing it out all the time using mind commands, body responds, the effect follows, and certain herbal things and nutritious stuff, which my doctor says, well, now you're clear. I said, well, yeah, but I didn't know it was there before. But I got the diagnosis, and then they said that I healed from the triple bypass faster than anybody else they'd ever seen. Well, that's because I was doing what I said. I was doing all that and being sung. So I'm back being healthy, running around, doing my exercises and being fine. But I like the idea of blending the two things together to make one, the two things.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing was that I have friends who are suffering with cancer and other ailments right now. And so some of them are able to go along with what the doctors recommend. Some of them are doing other things. What happens is what happens in the end. You make your decisions for yourself. And once you make those decisions, you live with them and you enjoy it. Our good friend, Stephen Watson, is suffering with a cancer. And that was a beautiful interview that you did with him.
Thank
you. A lot of people don't really understand his position on it, but I do. It's a great adventure. And because he's looking at it that way, his body and mind will be a great deal more sung than somebody who's completely freaked out and worried about it the whole time. So he has a better chance of healing.
Definitely. Yes. Well, I feel very fortunate because Steve Watson was very, very open, very honest, and shared his thoughts with me and with the audience. And so in case you
with Stephen, there is no.
If you miss
with Stephen, there is no artifice. It's what he is. He shows you what he is. So I like that.
Yes, yeah. That he's very genuine. Well, thank you so much. I know we can just keep talking and for hours and days.
Thank you so much.
But thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're trying to build your library and your university, and but I appreciate you made the time for us today.
I always make time for you. You're a great friend, and you do a really great service for people with all of your videos. I hope somebody watches this one. I'm sure they might. But thank you so much, and I'll be glad to do something again if you want it. So thank you so much.
Okay, so I also have an article to accompany with this video. So you get both. You get the video, you get the article, and I will also put some of the link about Dr. Painter below. Yeah.
Okay.
Below. Yeah. So in case you have questions for Dr. Painter, you can reach him directly. Am I right? Yeah. Or am I giving you a lot of extra a problem? So you can reach him, and or if you want to ask me, I can relay the message as well. And thank you.
I want to turn the tables on you. I want to turn the tables on you. One day I want to interview you for your show because you're fascinating yourself.
Well, we can think about it, but
we'll think about it.
I trained as a journalist, and and I got a couple awards for my work. So I'm how should I say? I don't know if I can be a
your
good
chin tai chi is beautiful. I love your chin tai chi. I love watching you do your tai chi training.
Don't talk more about me, okay? This is not about me. So, and again, thank you all very much for coming. And I talk to you all later. Okay, bye.
Bye, Jen.